Sarah?
Here.
John? Here. Stephanie?
Here.
Nate?
Here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion for the consent agenda.
I make a motion to remove D, 5D and 5G from the agenda.
D and G.
Yep. Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Public input. This is the time and place for discussion of items not already on the agenda. The time limit is 3 minutes each. All right.
Don't all talk at once.
Discussion possible action on utility bill reduction request from 106 South Jackson Street. Chris?
Is he on Venmo or not
Venmo.
Zoom?
No.
Okay,
He wrote a letter and it's in
Yep.
the packets that they have.
all right. Did you guys get a chance to
Yeah, I
read that?
Where did all the water go?
So behind his business and the same building is actually an apartment that they're in the process of renovating. Well, there's no way to hear that. If it wasn't for me hearing the meter clicking, you would have never heard it. And if we wouldn't have caught it with our red flags of our meter reads, then.
Well, but he's asking where the water went, because in his
Oh,
letter, he
it's,
says
oh,
he
it's out,
didn't use the
yeah,
sewer.
no, it went out the doors, like out the back corner of
So
so it's going alley side,
Down
so
the
to
hole.
the ground, yeah.
it
wasn't going-
didn't do
No.
that much. I was thinking that much water would.
Yeah, so basically he has all the flooring ripped up and he's got a little bit of the drywall in the corner that was going out of, so,
Well, at least that part's good.
yeah.
If I read it right, Brandon, he's just asking for the sewer and,
Right. Understand.
Yeah, and then if we wanted to get general practice in a payment plan in the past,
yeah, but I have a question, and I don't know, I should have called you earlier, I'm sorry. A while back, somebody came here with a water problem, and we gave him a percentage off of his actual water bill. Do you guys remember that?
No, I don't remember discounting water. I remember discounting or removing sewer.
Do you remember it?
Yeah, if you have equipment, if it goes down the sewer,
Yeah.
it like, they did it like once in the past, it was probably what they wanted to go to was doing a percentage of the water. This one wasn't, I mean, it was a pipe burst, so the water got used, I mean, so this is why just a sewer on this one makes sense, instead of trying to go that 25, whatever percentage that was.
But that actually did happen, I'm
Yeah.
not crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember now that you said that. All right. So do I motion to waive the water, sewer?
I make a motion to waive the sewer.
Second.
A motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
And Christina, would you get a hold of him, just let him know that he can set up a payment each month,
Yes.
whatever. Do it all at once. Discussion, possible action on bid for life safety issues for preservation plan of History Center and Library.
Dan or Becky on it, or just Dave?
Just Dave.
Okay. So this is the life safety of that preservation plan that the Historic Preservation Committee had done. If you guys remember, we budgeted $10,000 for the History Center and $31,000 for the library to complete this. They had a list of contractors that Christina sent out to. Bi-State Masonry was the only one that came back. And as you can see in my notes, that they're significantly under the cost of what the preservation plan had. So I talked to Becky and Ann, and they went back to their group, and they are good with them. They did some reference checks. He listed a bunch of them. They've done like the armory down in Rock Island Arsenal, and they follow the historic National Park Service preservation briefs to make sure that it'll work, will be compatible to the work requested in the historic building.
Now, this isn't for the east side or the west side here?
No, this is just the life safety, like emergency maintenance stuff. And they are requesting, or put together a grant to do the preservation piece, which would be the west wall of the History Center that you're talking.
So of their 10,000, they wanna spend 4,896, is that what I'm?
Yep, so they budgeted 10,000, which is what we went off that plan, and the work is only gonna be 4896.
And did they bid everything that was, I
Yeah,
was
so-
wondering how it came in so much less than that.
Basically, they sent out the preservation plan along with
Oh,
the detailed, it wasn't an RFP, it was a request for quote,
yeah,
because it wasn't the formal RFP, and they had all the detailed listed explanation on there
okay.
that we sent to them of what they wanted done based on that plan, so he had both documents.
So the second one, the $15,000 one,
Yes,
so what's that for?
that's the library. And that was 31.5 was what they had budgeted for, and it's gonna be about half of that. And I did speak to this guy, he is interested in doing the preservation piece too, so if you remember, I think the one building, I think the history center was like 94,000, so it might take a while to get the funds to do that, but if they can get a grant, at least maybe we can use some of this money to at least get one of them done, in the future.
Well, I think Historic Preservation was interested in getting an estimate from him on the rest of the work.
Yep, and so hopefully if this goes tonight, I'm gonna call him tomorrow, and then I'm gonna get him up here to get an estimate for the rest, because they just need a ballpark for their grant that they're writing.
Now, is he going to be starting after the 1st of July?
Yes, and he said there'll be no problem getting done by the end of the year, which would be,
Okay.
because they are also, just so you guys are aware, they have put in a grant to Lynn County to cover some of this cost as well, even the 4896 along with 15. Obviously, they don't know if they're gonna get it, but that can't happen until after July 1, so.
Unless they're
he's
turned
aware.
down.
Correct, unless they get the grant back that they didn't receive it.
If this is the proposal, they're accepted, do they know they have to have everything out of there for Sauerkraut next weekend? I mean, if there's a bunch of scaffolding and stuff.
Well, probably what we would do is not start till after then, because he said there'd be no problem getting it done.
Okay.
Or they're doing like on the History Center, he's doing the on-code there, doing some work in there, so maybe he can do that portion before he goes up on top. But a lot of this, if you remember, is like way up high on the, what you wanna call it, the overhang, and then the work on the chimney. So so I think there's some work that can be done ahead of time that would interfere with that.
Do you have a motion to accept these bids?
Yes, so moved.
Do you have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Sarah?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Stephanie?
Aye.
Nate? Aye. Discussion and possible action on contact for Iowa DOT to maintain bypass in city limits.
So this is just their, what is it, I think it's a 5-year contract, ours currently expires. We're down to just the 300 yards of the bypass that is currently the state's. So basically, it's just a contract saying that they're gonna take care of that portion of the bypass, so we don't have to. We've had these in place before when 30 ran through town. Obviously, it was a larger portion that was there, so it's the same agreements, just moved out there, and it's down to like 300 yards versus 3 miles or whatever it is.
So are we gonna plow all the way out to like Old Lisbon Road and Fast?
Yeah, actually, we go all the way down.
And then we plow this one back by Deb's house and stuff? So basically, they're just taking the road from bypass over to Highway Old 30.
Yeah.
That's all they're taking then, basically.
By your property?
No, they're taking underneath Sutliff Road.
Right.
That's ours. The county has, like Lisbon Boulevard, that's the county. And
Oh,
technically,
this is DOT, okay.
technically the county has the other part too, but he just makes that a part of his circle
Okay.
when he goes.
Do you have a motion? I guess we don't even need a motion, do we?
Yeah, because I have to,
Is it?
motion to approve
Got a
the,
motion?
I'll make a
I
motion.
second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion and possible action on approving payment for completion of BE Lisbon grant requirements.
so you can see, documentation there. This is from Michelle Baki at Salon 30. She was awarded $2,500. She has to show that the work is done in order to get that, so here's the pictures.
Motion to approve the
I
payment.
thought she was doing something for handicap accessible. I thought that was that was the bid for or something. I
I think she had several ideas, and one of them was the flooring.
don't know.
Which was more than double what she got.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alright. Discussion possible action on possible purchase of new chipper.
All right, so,
Travis's toys are expensive.
you guys have a bunch of paperwork. So, let's take this packet here and just set it to the side. You're gonna have one that looks like this,
Vermeer?
that's Vermeer, and the correspondence from Vermeer on how, the time frame.
Yep.
So, what I did is I reached out to Vermeer and to Rexco, which is a bandit dealer, and I bid apples to apples. After Vermeer got back to me and told me what the time frame, then we realized that there was no sense of wasting their time or our time. They were already more expensive than the bandit chipper. And,
Get rid of this.
yeah.
Okay, Shred.
So what that brings me to is this one right here is the picture and the specs of the bandit chipper we're looking at. With that being said,
This looks like the least cost option between the three Rexco.
yeah,
Yeah, there's a used
Yeah.
one that's more expensive, this is a
Right.
new one.
but this is a gasoline engine versus the other two are diesels.
Yeah.
So I got on California switching, they tax every gallon of diesel and they gotta fill out special paperwork, even the city and everything. So I got on some of their forums and asking them how were the gasoline engines holding up out there, and they actually like them better, because it's a little quieter. The return time on them from when you throw a big log in is faster. Better fuel on them too, so I was nervous and we were kicking this around a lot. But after talking with the people who have been running gasoline engines, I'm pretty confident that that's the way I would like to move.
Tell us how we're paying for it.
So Brandon and I were kicking this around. We budgeted 26 for a used one that had roughly 4,000 hours on it. We also are getting 20,000 from insurance from our old one. So that brings us up to just shy of 50, 46. We were gonna use solid waste fund that has money left in it to purchase this now. When we get the insurance money and when next budget kicks in, send that portion back, that 46, and pay that fund back for a majority of it, and then the rest of that would be just what solid waste should have paid for, because that's what this fund's supposed to come out of.
If you look in your monthly treasurer's report, I think there's 102 or 103,000 or something like that in there. So it is official. The 20,000 for the chipper, the old chipper, is confirmed with insurance. That's the maximum we got because that's all it was insured for. But that is official, a done deal. We're going to get it. So then we can.
Is there anything else coming out of that insurance claim? Because I know that that claim has skyrocketed. Is there anything else that is associated with any of this that we would be getting money back from?
Yes. Yes. So, I'm still working with FEMA. We moved on to the next step for FEMA, and that's for the debris cleanup. So that's a reimbursement of all the costs, like, that we had to open the streets and what have you. I want to say it was around 80,000. Also on top of that, I've been working with insurance, and we just received a check for $555,000. for reimbursement for the ratio claim so far. Right now, our total's at $720,000, and we still don't have everything, bids for everything yet. So we're gonna be well in the 800,000 range. Now, keep in mind some of that, it's trading out, you know, we haven't purchased like new lights at the park, that's in that, that's a big number.
Yeah.
But, for instance, right now, and our tally goes up as we speak, but right now, we've submitted 185 trees, we get $1,000 a tree. So we're getting 185,000 in just trees that should get all the stumps ground up and plant new ones, and there still should be some money left over that could, you know, we could use for this, but we've already received, the 185 for that as well.
Okay.
So this one, so we buying everything with all the options too?
Yeah, so this one, well, it's not all of the options, those are the options that we, after sitting with them and talking to, Cy has a bandit chipper too.
Sure.
So I was asking his opinion on what he thought we needed versus what he does.
I mean, I just can't believe the tires don't come with it.
Trust me, I asked that exact same question, and apparently up north, people buy just the chipper,
And put on a trailer.
put it on a trailer or their other stuff, so. There was a lot of them on here. The axle is a cheaper axle than what they originally quoted. You'd be surprised on what some of their stuff was.
So we're looking at 56,000.
Yeah, 56,928.75.
You guys want to do?
Make a motion to approve the purchase of the Bandit one for the $56,928.75.
Got a motion, do I have a
Give or
second?
take.
Second.
Got a motion, second, Nate?
Aye.
Stephanie?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
The public hearing for updating Lisbon floodplain ordinance for FEMA request.
So we just need to set, probably the next meeting, we'll have a public hearing in the first reading. This is from FEMA. The Lynn County floodplain has changed, so it's just updating our ordinance, which is basically a carbon copy of what they run as their ordinance.
I think we have to publish a public hearing, so it wouldn't be able to be on the next meeting. It have to be 30 days.
Well, yeah, you need to do it the first, yeah. We'll do
You
it the
have
first.
10
Uh,
May?
Let's do it the 3rd. Or, I'm sorry, yeah, the 10th.
All right, motion to set the public hearing for May 10th.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Set public hearing for updating UTV golf cart ordinance.
Chief Shannon's here from the police department to talk about that.
So, if you've probably been hearing, Mount Vernon is considering a golf cart UTV ordinance. We've had a request and have set public hearing date for that. So as we kind of discussed, as we move forward with the merged police department, different things like that, when there's opportunities that present themselves to do a joint ordinance or a merge, so keep them as uniform as we can, this one came to light from that aspect. So knowing that Mount Vernon is trying to, we've had the request and are moving forward with consideration of that ordinance. There's no guarantee it's going through yet. I pulled Lisbon's ordinance because obviously we would like to stay as close as we could through those. And so what I just asked Brandon, kind of working with Brandon and our city and just trying to find what maybe some joints, there's a few things in your ordinance that needs to be updated anyway since the bypass has been built, and renaming of things and different things like that too. So I think there's a good opportunity for us to collectively look at that. One of the big things was movement back and forth between the cities. You know, Lisbon's got theirs, Mount Vernon, if they pass it, would have theirs. Are we gonna require a Mount Vernon resident to get a Lisbon permit to drive at Lisbon, a Lisbon resident to get a Mount Vernon permit to drive at Mount Vernon? Or do we just recognize both of those across the board and allow them to free flow back and forth across the community and stuff like that? So those are some of the discussion points that will come forward. I've shared the ordinance, and we can, I don't know if you've seen that yet or not, what are some draft points that I would like consideration from council on. And I think this will be a good, maybe a first ticket item for the advisory board as well, to kind of sit down and hash out collectively between the cities and see where we're at. as we move forward to try to get ordinance as we proceed through public hearings and stuff like that. So don't really need anything, just want to put it on your radar.
Is there something out there that Lynn County is doing that, it's something about the fee? Sarah Brennan said something about the fee to me, that, like we charge a fee right now, right?
$25.
And there's some kind of lawsuit that's saying something about, since they gotta register them, what count, or would they have to pay licensing on it?
They have county license.
Yeah.
Well, but she might be in a little bit of a different situation because she actually lives in the county, so
But,
she's
I
probably
mean,
having to
it's-
double
I know there's some
license.
kind of a lawsuit out
So
there.
if they're going, yeah, so that, I can see
So
that
she
applying.
lives out by Sutla,
Correct,
and if she wants to come into Lisbon, she's gotta have a Lisbon permit.
correct.
And-
So the Lynn County ordinance only applies to the unincorporated areas of Lynn County. So therefore, when you hit city limits, the Lynn County ordinance does not apply, which is where your Lisbon ordinance would kick in. Now, that's the other discussion point too that we have is, you know, obviously we have people like Sarah that would want to probably bring their UTVs or their golf carts into town if they got the permit and kind of proceed through from there. This is, you know, we're in the very early stages of this. We will draft up kind of what we see the intent of the ordinance being, then it'll go off to the attorneys for their work as we move forward and stuff like that. So, again, just kind of wanted to put it out on your radar a little bit and see what feedback you've had so far. Sounds like you've had next to zero incidents involving them or any issues with them and stuff like that, other than a few complaints and recently maybe some unregistered ones running around and stuff like that. But,
Minors operating,
yeah.
in certain neighborhoods is a problem.
And so I was researching that specific topic as well, because about half of the ordinance say 18 and about half the ordinances say 16. And so that's really one of those points where, what do you want to do? And where do you see that going? 16-year-old can drive a car down the road, but they can't drive a golf cart down the road. Is one argument that you'll hear and different things like that. But there's different avenues for it as well, so.
So are you wanting us to set a public hearing tonight for this discussion, or you're just?
I don't think you need to at this point, just kind of we'll get the advisory board together, get this starting to flesh out. If you have feedback, definitely, you know, feed Sarah that information so she can bring that. And then we kind of flesh out and see where it's at from that standpoint. I think sometime in the future here shortly, you'll probably want to tweak your ordinance a little bit anyway, and we'll just flesh that out and kind of go through.
One thing after talking to Doug too, I didn't wanna, you know, there could be some pushback over there, and like I said, after we met today, getting us too far ahead if we start changing things and then they not do it.
Right.
You know, there's still some things we need to change, but my hope is that there's one sticker that's valid for each town. If you're a Lisbon resident, rural or city, you come to Lisbon to pay your portion or your permit. If you're a Mount Vernon resident, rural or city, you go to Mount Vernon to pay. You get one sticker. We were talking about moving the date to the 1st of the year instead of the 1st of July, so it's not mid-season where you're getting your sticker. So you know if you dig it out for the spring or whatever, oh, I gotta get my sticker. So those are just some of the highlight points, but
I feel like having a January sticker date, a lot of people will forget and won't do it until the season anyway. Because if you, like, I think about the moped, right? The moped sits there all year long, I don't think anything about it, and then summer comes and somebody wants to hop on it, and I'm like, we gotta get the,
You know, the other consideration was too, I know your ordinance is restricted sunrise to sunset, and different things like that. And so some of the thoughts I want to put out in front of you is UTVs are often used for snow removal operations, different things like that, sometimes after hours. There will be requests for that, you know, we're gonna have exemptions for that. And so I think it's all discussion points on what's going to, everybody's gonna feel about it.
when we require headlights and taillights and brake lights, well, if it's
Yes.
daylight, why would you need them?
right.
Right,
So it's kind of,
yeah.
I mean, I got this later, I was gonna do it. What I want is the advisory board to meet with, like your advisory board, or Mount Vernon's advisory board. And I kind of, especially when it deals with any police matters, they kind of mirror each other. I mean, that way they ain't going like our dog report bite ordinance, you know?
I agree.
Something like that. It's a lot easier for you,
But
it's cut and dry.
I think Brandon's right, there's no point in us sitting here changing
No,
a
I
bunch of
agree.
stuff,
No, I
because if
agree.
they don't even approve it, then it
Absolutely.
doesn't matter where
I
sticker
agree.
comes from.
But I mean in general for,
Yeah.
we talked quite a while on this.
But however, like you said, there are probably some changes with bypass you know, with 30 not going through, there are probably some tweaks that we can make to make it.
And also, I mean, it gives you guys plenty of time to review what you have on the books. Is there anything that you want to change? Are there issues that you're having? And you can feed that, and that can be part of that discussion as we go forward. Absolutely, make it a fruitful conversation. So, that's all I need.
Thanks. Thank you.
Resolution 15, 2021, approving a member for the Lisbon Fire Department.
So, this was brought before the review board. They met with Kaylor Patton. This would be Danny's son, who's also in the department. And we did a vote, and they voted to put him on as a probationary member.
Motion,
Motion.
we got a second?
Second.
Nate,
Aye.
Stephanie,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Sarah.
Aye.
Resolution 1621, approving new public work employee.
Ryan Stone King is here. That is who we talked about a couple meetings ago about the new public works employee. So we're just formalizing it tonight. I don't know, what did you guys decide for a start date?
May 3rd.
May 3rd. So everybody, this is Ryan. Ryan, this is everybody. Ryan grew up in Lisbon. Obviously, he knows Stone Kings. I mean,
Sure.
so,
Your mom is Karen?
Yes.
yep.
All right.
Oh,
Worked with her for
right. He
forever,
works at
so,
Nameplate.
Yeah.
And Ryan actually lives with his family in Mechanicsville, so just a little skip and jump away. So.
All right.
So I'll make a motion to approve the hiring of Ryan Stone King for
I second the
A
position.
motion and a second, Sarah.
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Stephanie,
Aye.
Nate.
Aye.
All right.
Welcome.
Congratulations on the award.
Correspondence.
I do not have anything other than probably see the attached police department report.
City engineer Dave.
Yes, good evening. A couple of things to report on. Business 30, we've been working on plans for the rehab of that roadway, and that would be from Mount Vernon city limits out to the entrance to the Seeds of Faith church area. We've also been talking with Lynn County. They have already bid their project. The south side of the road in that general area from Dollar General out to Seeds of Faith is in the county. They didn't have that included in their project, but they are going to add that in either by compensating the city if we put it as part of ours, or possibly doing a change order for theirs. It would just depend on which gave them better pricing, so we'll have that in there as an alternate on our project. Also been working with Mount Vernon between Highway 1 and Lisbon, Mount Vernon city limits to have that section rehabbed. So from Highway 1 to the east end of the bypass for Business 30 will all be redone as part of this effort. The county has L. Pelling as the contractor that received the award of the contract. We've been talking with them to find out rough timing. They indicated they'd be looking at doing work after August. So we're suspecting that since they are the primary contractor that does this type of work in the area, that they would likely be a candidate to bid on this project. So we've been using the numbers from the Lynn County as a basis for our estimate. Currently, we're right at 1.04 for our base bid, and if we include the alternate, which has turn lanes in some areas and a few other improvements that we were looking at, we get up to about 1.2, 1.3. However, that's using those prices, and they indicated that we should see a pretty good reduction in pricing if they're successful in bidding on this project, due to the fact that they're already here, and this would increase quantity quite a bit, so there should be some economy of scale. So we're hoping that that 1.147 the DOT had given us as part of the TJ will cover not only the rehab, but some of the alternate bid items for the turn lanes and so forth. So any questions on that?
Any questions for Dave?
We'll be looking at trying to set the public hearing at the next meeting and the bid date at the next meeting as well. And then the other item that I have is to let you know that we're still working on the well project and the water main project, waiting to get the income surveys done in order to find out eligibility and project area for CDBG for the water main improvements. And we're just waiting to get final confirmation and plans from YTT on the sports complex so that we can get the well site off to DNR for approval. So that's where we're at with projects currently.
And thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Public Works Director.
Piggybacking a little bit on what Dave said, there's the whole road from start to finish. The county portion that he's talking about is the light blue. So that's significant.
So those of you that don't know, from essentially Dollar General, or that vacant lot east of Dollar General, eastbound all the way to Seeds of Faith Church, the eastbound lane is county and the westbound lane is city limits. It's been like that since the beginning of time. So they're stopping at where both lanes are theirs. So that's the section we would address.
Right. So that's why it would look goofy for us to do just our portion, and so that's what Dave was talking about there. With also the school emergency access that they were talking about at our joint meeting. Went out and met with Rod and Eric. We've got the plan, kind of gave them rough specs of what we were looking at. I didn't want Dave to put it in the project and have to pay the engineering costs on that, to have him do that, where what we can do is, once we approve the bid, the quantity cost is gonna be set, so if they do get their portion done, we can get it asphalted for the price. It'll already be set in the bid, so there was no sense paying the extra engineering for either the school or us. So as long as they do what they're supposed to do, we can gladly get it, and it'll be billed as a change order, and then at that point, the school can just write the check for it. So we'll have to approve the change order, but that's what it'll be for. God willing, they're coming tomorrow to hook up all the alarms, so no more coming in every night. It's been a long, fun battle since the derecho, so I'm
What are you
hoping.
gonna do with yourself?
So when they hook up, will that go to everybody's phone, all you guys' phones, or just yours?
It's mine and then Brandon's, and then the dialer will be at the shop, so if I'm gone, I can program somebody else's number into it.
Okay.
We also talked about having Lynn County Dispatch put in there, the non-emergency police number, just in case, but I haven't had a chance to talk with Doug yet on that. Let's see. We're gonna finish up leaves tomorrow and then start on with street sweeper. So I just like to remind everybody, if they have a car that doesn't move every day, if they could, get it off the street so we can get the sweepers down through there and get that done. And then water should be on by the end of this week for all the restrooms at the parks. But water fountains will stay off until COVID allows us to turn them on.
How long does it take you to do the town on the street sweeper?
It depends.
I mean, is it something you do all in one day?
No.
Multiple days?
No, it'll be
A week?
multiple days, yeah, a week probably. It depends, like Washington Street, because the gutter line's not exactly the best, you'll have to go over it 3 times, where there's spots on Market Street that everything works perfect, and it's one and done, so.
The only reason I ask is because if you know, like Thursday, we're gonna be doing these streets, they could probably pop it on the Facebook page
Right.
and just let everybody on those streets at least know that, hey, these are the streets we're gonna be covering today. And then maybe that would help with people moving their vehicles, if they could see that it's their street. Or it's not an emergency, but you could use, what's it called? Yeah. To send out an alert that these are the streets we're gonna be sweeping today, and you could have your vehicles off.
We'll try
Couple of
it.
options.
We'll try that, we'll try to give them the day ahead of time. The only thing that bothers me is we never know what comes up, so if we tell somebody we're gonna do their street, we don't.
Or just put out there on Facebook that the
Tentative
next few
schedule.
days, this is what we will be doing.
Okay.
Please be, aware, if you have vehicles that don't move every day, that this is something that's
And you could put on there that it's a tentative schedule barring, you know, any catastrophes.
Or you put under Stephanie's idea.
Go right.
All right, I'm good.
I love the messages.
Park and Rec Director,
I don't have anything.
Police Department,
Nothing additional.
Fire Chief,
Great, and you started your new registrations though.
Oh, yeah. We started registrations for T-ball, coach pitch, baseball and softball today.
I'm not gonna have time to coach those,
That's
so.
fine. Travis will.
Fire Chief,
I do not have anything fire department related.
City Administrator,
I think we talked about most of it, obviously, still working with the derecho, still back and forth with FEMA. I will tell you though, it got moved to the next step today.
Do
Been
you have
working-
any idea what step that is in the process? Are we like to step 2, or are we like
No,
step 8?
I think it's about 5 steps since I started, so
And how many steps are there, do we know?
I don't know. So
I just wonder.
So this step was, we had to produce that we didn't receive any insurance money for the actual debris cleanup, which, so then EMC had to create a letter, which they had to for multiple cities,
Yeah,
and submit that. So I submitted that, and he said, this is exactly what we need, and you're on to the next step, so maybe there's an end.
small victories.
Yeah. So the derecho, as I said, there's a lot going on with that. Like I said, we received $555,000 so far. That came last Friday. Now we start the repairs. The dugout has been, the rest of the concrete and the poles have been removed from over at City Park. Blinks Brothers were there the other day. They ran into like some issues, like we decided we needed to remove the concrete, so they should be back this week to hopefully get that done. I'm gonna check tomorrow on the fence over at the at Menards to get that installed.
Did we find a painter?
Not yet, he's checking with, I believe it was Dave Bennett.
Dave Bennett, I saw him at Casey's and he said that he was putting together a painter.
Yeah, so I have not seen that yet, so I'll get that to you. That's also on the, will be reimbursable through insurance. One of the things I tabled was a discussion on the temporary lighting. I'm waiting for one more bid. We met with another company on Friday that the insurance will cover portable lights, but I'm trying to see what we can get the biggest bang for our buck for the lighting. So I'll have more on that at the next meeting. And then we started the process talking with Travis and Drayton, working on getting the pool ready and going over responsibilities and stuff like that for the summer. So it's been busy, but we're making headway, I think.
okay, any questions for Brendan? Council Mayor report, Nate?
I don't have anything this week.
Steph?
I have a couple things. Well, first of all, today was the funeral for Burl, Doug's mother, and so I obviously want to, I'm sorry, I'm very sorry. Burl was a wonderful woman, and she did a lot for this town, and so one of the things that Burl was asking was for people to plant trees, and so if you feel so inclined, that would be a good way to honor her. The weather is getting nicer, the park is getting busy, the kids are out, they're on their bikes, they're running all over town. So I just yearly kind of give that little, you know, like this is happening, pay attention for the kids because they're gonna start being everywhere. I want to thank the Seeds of Faith Church because we did not have enough room for the soccer fields this year due to the way the baseball diamond outfield is. And so they allowed us to put some soccer fields on their area out there, the land next to their church. And so I want to thank them for that. And that kind of makes me wonder, like, where are we? I mean, can you just give me a timeline on the complex? Like how, when, I know you said it once and
The goal is to hopefully have spring spring soccer over there. Now,
Why are you shaking your head no?
Because we haven't let out the bids yet, and it's gonna be, I mean, there's no way we'll have it seeded in time.
We'd be lucky to have fall.
That's
well,
more realistic, realistic is fall.
that's that's what they told us. They actually were thinking that maybe people would go out there this fall. I was like, there's no way it's even close. So as we've gone along here, and I reached out today to speed things up with Dave and YTT. So,
And is there any way to expedite it? Because here's the thing, I don't know, when you used to have like, what, 8 soccer teams and this year you've got 12, is that right?
Yeah.
So those programs are growing, and so we're only gonna continue to run into this problem where we don't have enough space, and so,
well,
you
the
know.
nice thing is for the space though, everything would have fit at the park
Yes.
this year. But
Except for the
remember, we
seat.
reseeded that outfield, and
Right.
I wanted to give that a chance to grow before baseball season, so that way we're not out there with 4th and 5th graders with their soccer cleats, and every day we're restarting that process of germinating seed again. So I called over and got permission from Seed to Face. So the thought would be, at a worst-case scenario, we should have our regular outfield back for next spring for soccer. Plus, if we get into this again, we could potentially reach out to seek that property again.
I mean, it's not an ideal location.
Right. There's also, we could maybe figure out something for little kids out beyond the sports complex, or possibly over at the Myers barn property. Travis and I were talking about that today. So we just have to see what, you wouldn't want to have like probably a 4th and 5th grade there, but you could definitely have some small kids. But I know some of that though is tough because, you know, you have all different age of kids, and if you have 1st grade here and, you know, 2nd grade at the same time there, you know, you're trying to maneuver around town, but, you know, we're just gonna have to do what we have to do until we can.
I mean, hopefully the program keeps growing and we would run out of room there. I mean, that was always the goal of the program, so it's a good thing that we are, but, you know, you add a couple more teams next year or something and you're right back in the same situation.
And, you know, you have the outfield of Diamond 4 that I'm sure you could put a little kids if you had to, you know, I mean, I don't think we're like landlocked to the point. I mean, there's different ideas. It might not be ideal for a year, but.
I don't think we are either, but you have to also remember that there's teams practicing on Diamond 4 right now. Baseball teams, softball teams are
Sure.
using those, you know, so when we take up all their outfields and stuff like that for soccer, then that limits what they can do too. And we only have so many nights of the week, and I have multiple times heard parents complain because their kids are practicing at 7 or 8 o'clock at night, but we're out of space, so we're out of time.
Right.
And so I just want to know that it's moving
Yeah, it's moving,
as quick as
like
it can
Dave
be.
said, yeah, we need to figure out this. I wanted to make sure that, Travis and I talked, we want to make sure that Dave communicates well with YTT, because I don't want them putting in a road and then having to tear it back out to put in, you know, for the well. So I just want to make sure that that's all worked out before they let everything out to bid and have time frame and all that.
So the school has no desire to let us use their practice field?
So, I reached out and asked them if I was gonna be able to use it for T-ball and coach pitch and stuff, but they said that they're getting ready to reseed that too. And so I just wanna let you guys know there's a good chance I'm probably gonna be reaching out to Seeds of Faith again. If I've got the numbers that I had, or that I have in soccer currently, there's no way I'm gonna be able to use Diamond 4 for T-ball and coach pitch and intro. So there's a good chance I'll be reaching out to them again to see if I can put fields out there.
Well, we're fortunate that we have that in town, and we're
They
really
work really
fortunate that
well.
they let us use it.
They told
I
Brandon that
think,
they
are
wanted to
you
get it.
trading off mowing or something? Is
Yeah,
that-
I'm mowing it, well, where we have our soccer fields. I haven't yet, it hasn't really grown much, but Brandon talked to them on the phone, and it seems like they wanna work with the community, so.
They're very generous. They even said like, we didn't have to mow it, but that was just something I thought we could do for them to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, to recoup some of the use of it. So,
Anything else, Jeff?
No,
John?
Thanks to Brandon and everyone working on the bridge for damage to get paid back. It really adds up to a lot of money. COVID shots are continuing in the area. They had some over at Mount Vernon Pharmacy on Friday, I know, and Southeast Lynn was involved with scheduling those too. So the shots are available, and I think we're doing pretty good in our area. The closed session's coming up. I had occasion to have a call from a citizen that was concerned with these closed sessions. They just want to say they're routine. It's a chance for the consul to interact with the employee and two-way communication, so they're in no way a problem. And my condolences to all the O'Connors. That's all I have.
Sarah?
Yeah, my thoughts and prayers go out to Doug and the rest of your family. Burl was an icon for this community, and so you guys are in our thoughts and prayers. The other thing, I'm gonna piggyback on steps with the complex. Have we thought about any kind of fundraising? I mean, obviously this complex is not gonna just come out of nowhere. And I know that there's gonna be funds that are gonna be needed. So, I mean, are we looking at any kind of fundraising for complex?
I have not looked at any fundraising, but it's definitely something that we could do.
I think at one time we were talking about like naming rights for the fields and stuff like that, but Connie was gonna check into that to make sure that we even could, or,
I'm assuming we can, because I know that that's what other complexes do. They have a sponsor. for
I know,
each.
but remember when they wanted to do signs out here at the baseball field and it was a whole big hoopla because
Yeah.
I don't know if you can, if you're using city funds for stuff like
that's
that.
what I don't know, so.
I don't know either,
She was
but
gonna
those
check
are
it, but I
things.
never heard back.
So that was just one thing that I.
What Sarah's talking about, is get over with your board and start talking about that. And then
Yeah, that's
council-
pretty much what I'm saying. Thanks,
council-
Doug. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you.
And that's all I got.
First of all, I want to welcome Ryan. Got a pretty close family here, so I think you'll fit right in. Just wanted to thank all the people in Lisbon for the support that you've given us last week. I thank Lisbon, Mount Vernon, or Lisbon Fire Department, Mount Vernon, Lisbon Police Department for stopping traffic today. One of the last things that Mom got enjoyment out of was seeing the trees going down here at the gazebo. She did get, I showed her that picture, she got a big smile on her face, so just wanted to thank everybody for that. And Travis, or Brendan and I have been talking about sidewalks downtown, so she'll smile about that, because they'll get done sooner or later. That's all I got. So we're gonna go in, who's it for?
Jake.
Both of them?
Well, Jake's the first one, and then Drake's the second one.
Who do you want to do first?
Jake,
Jake.
because Travis needs to stay for Jake.
Possible closed session pursuant to code, Iowa section 21.5, 1I, to evaluate the professional competencies of an individual whose appointment, hiring, performance, or discharge is being considered when necessary to prevent needless and irreparable injury to the individual's reputation and that individual's request for closed session. Jake, you want to go into closed session?
Sure.